Lusiola Castillo, Chief Librarian for the Belize National Library Service and Information System.
All right. Ms. Castillo, what's your first memory of libraries or reading?
Libraries and reading. My recollection of reading is while going to school, I remember reading a lot of books, especially Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. So my recollection of books, being introduced to books, apart from the school books, but reading for pleasure, was during my primary school days on an exchange basis with my classmates. The library service, I knew there was a library in Orange Walk, but the library where it presently is at the Sandy Hunter Library on Hospital Crescent was, to me, the old hospital. And when the library was built and moved from the town hall to the present location, it was not really a library because it had Ministry of Education Resource Center, I think, but it had several offices in there apart from the library. So the library was only a section within the building that we now have as the Sandy Hunter Library.
At what point did you say, I want to be a librarian? How did that evolve your career?
That's a very good question, Felene. I didn't even know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I know I started to work, I relocated from Orange Rock to Belize City to start my employment career. And I started to work at the Belize Center for Environmental Studies, an NGO at that time. And I went in there to work as an assistant, as a documentalist, as a secretary, the one job that you do everything. And I was given, one of my major tasks was the organization of a room full of books. Now, organization to me was like you put all titles that are in one area or one genre into a section. It was while working with that collection of books, organizing it, that I realized that there is a systematic way on how to organize books. At that point, it was new to me. I didn't even know that there was a profession like that. So I just went in, did what I had to do, and emerged victorious because at the end of the day, we were able to find books of a given title, of a given topic, of a given author. So I was there for about, I would say 5 years. And then I moved on to Spare, where again I went into the field of books organization because they actually had a resource center already there. So I was the information officer at Spare. And at that point, technology was just coming into effect. So we had to develop a database for the collection that they had accumulated over the years. And it was mostly books on Belize, Central America, and the Caribbean. And while working at Spare, I realized that there's a wealth of information once you know how to source out the information that you need. And it was at Spare then that I decided that, Belize could use librarians because librarians were they were few librarians in Belize at that point in time. So I started my education in librarianship in library science through the online course program that UWI had at that point in time, where you could do your first year here in Belize, and then to complete your studies, you had to go to Jamaica.
While you were studying, did you ever think to yourself, let me change majors, this is too hard? Or did you already commit to librarianship, even though you saw other possibilities, or uh, did you specialize in a certain type of librarianship while you were studying?
It never crossed my mind to change majors. Once I had decided, because I think I had had the experience of the past two libraries that I had worked with, I knew that it was a field that I could venture in, that I love, and that I would enjoy as I continue to help Belize develop as a nation. So at no point did I um, think about changing my area of studies, even though when my friends actually asked me, you're actually going to go and study librarianship? There's a field of study in libraries? And I said, yes. So I never did, once I had worked in the field, I never did change or had any thoughts of changing my profession. In fact, I wanted to improve it and come back to Belize and make sure that we have libraries at the center of the community where we can assist the community in their development.
I had to ask that question because your friends and my friends sound exactly alike. They said, what? There's actually a major and a degree for that? And so,
Mhm.
I said yes. And beyond that, there's specializations, whether you want to be in public librarianship, if you want to be at special libraries, if you want to deal with the technical aspects of it, if you want to, just focus on administration. So that was eye-opening for them. So I had to ask that question.
I,
Now,
I, I think the reason why they ask that is that in Belize, we still don't have an area of study or a field of studies in librarianship. And even at schools or the junior colleges, it's not something that is promoted as a profession. So I think that's the onus on us to ensure that people see librarianship or information specialist as a profession, because the title or your position might change depending on where you are. If you're at a library, if you're at a special library, if you're at a school library, your title, your position might change depending on the organization. But the provision of information in whatever format it is still current and it's still needed.
very true, very true. So after you returned to Belize, what occurred next in regards to your career?
I came to work at the Belize National Library Service at that point, and there I was given the responsibility of public libraries. I was responsible for the public libraries in the north and west, along with the community libraries in those areas. My colleague was responsible for the south and the city. So from there on, from 2000, I have been at the library, at the Belize National Library Service. And I have gradually moved up from librarian to principal librarian to now chief librarian.
Did you know that one day you would become chief librarian?
I didn't know because at that point you were focusing on trying to develop the libraries that you're responsible for. So your focus was not on whether you will be the chief librarian, at what point you will be the chief librarian, but ensuring that the services the library provides improves and that the community sees the library as a safe place so that they are willing to come into the library to get either a book for pleasure or research and information for their studies or their development, or come in and see what there is in any field that you would like to enhance your skills on. For example, we have cooking books, we have um, books on how to build things. So people do come into the library for those resources as well. So it was something more in trying to be relevant and moving the library ahead. And as time went by, then you realize, okay, there's room for improvement, there's room for yourself as well, development for yourself. And as you moved along, you noted that, I noted, sorry, that I could go up in the hierarchy. And that's what happened. I guess once you have achieved a certain level and you have brought some changes into the library service and the community is still making much use of the resources that we have, then you see yourself moving ahead. But initially, it was to provide service to the community.
Now, I want to ask you, because you have seen libraries all over the country. You know, in these 20 years, you have seen the evolution of libraries in respect to technology. And now, as chief librarian, you have a different vantage point than than earlier. What would you say is your have you changed, you know, in this new perspective? Has it changed your idea about the library service and the difficulty, any respect for the difficulties that the previous chief librarians encountered as they tried to do the same thing that you are now doing?
I admire all the past chief librarians, starting with Mr. Leo Bradley, Miss Alice Gibson, Mr. Lawrence Vernon, and Miss Joy Sigeri, because I know that they had a more challenging time than I did. At that point, I think libraries, if I feel that now I still have some constraints, previously I don't want to be in their shoe, I think, because it would have mean going to areas that they had to go via boat, for example, to Barranco. They didn't have a road to go to Barranco. They had to go on a boat to get to Barranco. Um, there wasn't as much communication. And communication was very difficult. I can imagine the budget was even smaller than it is now. And to get books to Belize might have been a challenge as well. But I won't go into that. They had their own challenges. And yes, I admire all of them. And I hope that now, with a complement of 8 librarians at the Belize National Library Service, which is history in itself, um, we will be able to move the libraries ahead better, in a more efficient way, so that the community sees it as spaces for them to develop, to enhance their skills, and to learn new things. So I think that libraries now, I'm set in a position where once we put all our efforts into the development of libraries, we can achieve it with the resources that we have, with the commitment that the government has given us over the past years, and the new minister has committed himself to support us. So it's something that we might not have everything, but as I always say, we are here to provide services to the people who need it the most, to the people who want it, and to those who will come in and make the best of what is here for them. Because the libraries is for the entire country of Belize. It's not only for a sector of the population. It's open and it's free in most instances. It's free, and what you pay, it's very minimal, nothing out of the ordinary. And even that, we have made provisions so that people, that the librarians, the senior library assistants, and the community librarians realize that they can use their discretion when it comes to waiving fees and just document it as such. Technology is an area where we have not been able to completely embrace because of the financial costs attached to it, but we have moved the library in regards to databases. We have our own database where we have the collections of every library in. It's not online as yet publicly, but it's online internally for us. So we can search any title, author, or subject and see if we have any information in that regards. We also provide EBSCO services to the general public, and they have, within EBSCO, we have several databases, full text databases, ebooks, Caribbean ebooks, and other just bibliographic databases. So we can search EBSCO electronically, especially now with COVID. You can search EBSCO from home and see what materials you need, what resources you need, and you can download it, you can open it once you have the password and username, which if you call any of your branch libraries or community libraries, it can be provided to you. For the future, we always have to look at the community, work with the community. We cannot live in a vacuum of only the library services. If we are to be successful, if we are to continue providing the service, we have to have the needs of the community that we serve present at all times. So whenever we're developing a new service, whenever we're promoting a program, it has to be that the community is well aware of it and that they are interested in it. And if they're not interested in it, that we educate them about it. Because if we do not educate our community, then one of our main responsibilities of providing information, bringing awareness, and having a literate society will not be there. So the onus is upon library service to ensure that we're always relevant and that we're always in communication and in tune with the community we serve. Once we do that, we are going to be successful. We are going to be useful to the community, and people will know where to go to for information, for new knowledge, for new skills, and even for the documentation of their oral histories that they know, for digitizing their collections. For example, the photographs that they have that nobody else have, and they contribute to the history of Belize, we can digitize them. We can make it available for 85 years more or triple that amount of time. Libraries will always be around. And once we keep in touch with the community and making sure that we remain relevant, and the community's quest for knowledge, quest for development will then be what prompts us to provide the services that we need to make sure that we are relevant to the community.
Okay, so the theme for this 85th anniversary is Belize Public Libraries, transforming, enriching, and uplifting communities since 1935. What does that theme mean to you, Ms. Castillo?
The theme that we selected for the 85th anniversary of the Belize National Library Service and Information is very relevant for us today because we have helped in different avenues, in different ways, in the enrichment of our communities that we serve, the uplifting of the standards of living, even if it's not tangible, but it's there in the way we provide the services that we do. And we have been able to transform because while we enrich and uplift, people transform, communities transform, Belize transform itself. So the library has always been able to stay relevant and ensure that we evolve with the community that we serve, because libraries are not stagnant, regardless of what some people think. Oh, they still use the library? Oh, they still have books? People actually go borrow books? Yes, people come in and borrow books. We still have the library, and people still come in and use the resources that we have, because not everybody has a computer to do their word processing at home. Not everybody has the use of books at their home. So we have helped Belize silently, but we have pushed ourselves ahead with libraries. We have transformed, we have enriched, we have uplifted communities, either through our cultural programs, our bookmobile, our lectures, our poetry nights. In all the services that we provide, we try to ensure that the people that attend these activities and programs come out with something new, with even if it's one piece of information that is new to them, it's something that we have shared with them, we have made sure that they are now aware of, and they can use that information to share with others and to make sure that we move Belize in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Ms. Castillo. I appreciate this interview. Very informative.
Thank you, Ms. Felene.